Well, this is definitely empowering to be on this stage. Bill Gorstein of the college, as Kyle said here. I'm excited to be here to do a GridX talk, to moderate this for you. What we're talking about is a journey out of darkness, right? And we think of science and other venues. Everything we do begins with observation. That's what good science is all about. That's how we learn. That's how we do things. And we observe the world around us. And then if we want to go beyond what our human limitations are, we'll take that to the next step with technology, right? We make microscopes to see what is small. We make telescopes to see what's out far. We have things that are digital to send communication all around the world. And so now that we have all of this information coming at us, right, all this ability to see with all the spectrums and all the things, we're going to get three viewpoints on observation. One, we're being observed all the time, right? There are cameras all the way. You go past speed cameras. They're on post. We're going to get some viewpoints from that from Rebecca A. Adelman. She's associate professor in media communication. She's going to talk about the Beyond the Checkpoint, Rethinking Citizenship and Surveillance. And then we're going to look up into the sky and look down at the clouds and look down at the weather and see why things are happening the way they are with Vanderlei Martins, a professor in physics in the Joint Center for Earth Systems Technology. He's reaching for the skies, sun, pollution, clouds, and climate. He might be able to tell us why storms are so strong nowadays. And then Lee Boot, director of the Imaging Research Center, a grand visualization challenge, putting Humpty back together again. We have so much information coming out. And I don't know about you, I started off life with picture books. An image translates 1,000 words. How do you take all this data and put it into one place so it's understandable? And so what I want to do with the introduction at the beginning is to have these individuals come in one after another. It's their time. It's your time to listen to what they have to say. And so that's it for me. I'll see you at the end. I did get it right.
Thank you. Good afternoon. So, in August 2003, I set off a walk-through metal detector at the New Orleans airport, and no one could figure out why. They x-rayed my sandals, searched my bag, sent me through again and again, always with the same result. They scanned me with a handheld metal detector, and I set that off too, a couple of times. They called for reinforcements, and a uniformed crowd descended to escort me away from the public space of the checkpoint and through an unmarked door into a room furnished with a metal desk, metal chairs, a dangling overhead light. A sheriff appeared and asked if there was anything I wanted to tell them. There wasn't. A TSA officer asked why I was setting off the metal detectors. I had no idea. They questioned and wanted me simultaneously, the alert of the device undermining my every protestation that I wasn't hiding anything. They took turns alternating between the metal detector and direct physical inspections, and the device alarmed at every pass, but their manual pat-downs revealed nothing. They began asking me to remove articles of clothing and became more aggressive in their questioning. An hour into this routine, they were getting impatient, and I was getting nervous. I had no idea what would happen, but I sensed that the officials didn't either, having repeated their protocol over and over again without making any progress. Finally, someone suggested maybe they should try another metal detector. This time, silence. My captors magically transformed, becoming warm, jovial, almost maternal. Their machine confirmed mutely but emphatically that we were on the same side, and our lopsidedly intimate interactions had made us part of the same system. They returned my clothes, my shoes, and carry-on. As they guided me toward the door, they informed me that they would have to prepare a report, but would be sure to note how patient and agreeable I'd been. One woman put her hand on my shoulder and thanked me. She smiled kindly and said, "You've really done a service for your country today." Now, at the time, this sentiment struck me as absurd and even insulting. I couldn't see how my compliance benefited the country, and I didn't really think I had done much of anything. I imagined myself as the passive victim of an overzealous security state, and this depiction is partially accurate. Scholars like Rachel Hall and Lisa Parks have observed how various checkpoint technologies and practices render passengers transparent or see-through and demand compliance in exchange for mobility. But my vulnerability was only half the story, and focusing only on the power of the officials overshadows my essential participation in this interaction, which in turn illuminates the contingency and fragility of even the intense securitization that followed September 11th. I had no metal on my person, much less anything dangerous, but the machines malfunctioned repeatedly. This triggered a response that wasted the time and energy of 6 government employees and hence potentially kept them from investigating other actual threats. The search of my baggage and my body turned up nothing, and neither did their questions, because there was nothing to uncover. They encountered impasse after impasse. My cooperation was the only thing that went right. The grateful TSA agent revealed, unwittingly, how heavily the national security state relies on its citizens to partner in the work of surveillance. Indeed, even when surveillance technologies work properly, they don't directly guarantee public safety. So apart from the jerkiness imparted to their motions by the security cameras themselves, this footage from the early morning of September 11, 2001, shows the soon-to-be hijackers of American Airlines Flight 77 moving easily through Washington Dulles International Airport as they prepared to fly that plane into the Pentagon. Among the first hijackers to arrive, Khalid al-Midar clears security with only a brief delay and walks away with his chin tilted upward, his mouth slightly open, maybe a smile, maybe a grimace, maybe nothing at all. At one point, though the poor image quality makes his expression inscrutable, he raises his head and seems to look directly at the camera, but betrays no apparent reaction to it. Faintly visible some minutes later is the flashing red alert light on the walk-through metal detector set off by Nawaf al-Hazmi. His movements as he raises his arms, pivots, and raises them again are strangely graceful, and he is impassive as the screener moves the wand through the air around his body. Moments later, he turns to collect his bag, casting only the briefest look back at the man who has cleared him to move into the terminal to board his flight. Although the unblinking cameras performed their task faultlessly by clearly capturing the hijackers on screen, by doing nothing more than that, they also failed in a fundamental way and marked the limit of what surveillance alone could accomplish. The footage these cameras generated, which was apparently unremarkable at the moment of its creation, became agonizingly meaningful in retrospect and illustrated that if images were to serve any purpose at all for the besieged United States, they could do so only through aggressive and deliberate action on the part of actual people and organizations that wield them. The impotence of the surveillance recording demonstrated that the state's survival hinged on the abilities of its agents and allies not just to passively collect images, but to interpret, manage, and actively use them. Consequently, the state would have to count on its citizens to say something if they happened to see something. That ubiquitous mandate revealed the state's awareness of its visual incapacities and deficiencies, but also signaled its intention to redefine citizenship as active visual engagement, not just passive acquiescence. And so the TSA, the Department of Homeland Security, and their partner agencies had tried to make surveillance commonplace, but also fun. For example, in 2015, Homeland Security launched a multimedia Protect Your Everyday campaign to reinvigorate its See Something, Say Something initiative. The radio spots, videos, and posters feature everyday folks who identify themselves as teachers, barbers, and firefighters, and encourage their fellow citizens as follows. Quote, "It's when you experience a moment of uncertainty, something or someone's behavior that doesn't seem right. These are the moments to take a pause, because if something doesn't feel right, it's probably not. It isn't about paranoia or being afraid. It's about standing up and protecting our communities, one detail at a time, because a lot of little details can become a pattern. We trust our instincts," they say, just like you should, because only you know what's not supposed to be in your everyday. The commercials conclude with an instruction to report those little out-of-place details to the authorities and situate this practice as a part of a daily routine as unremarkably necessary as getting a haircut or sending your child to school. Now, at the same time, these agencies are infusing a new comedic sensibility into their work, Of course, this development would have been unthinkable in the immediate aftermath of September 11th, and it also sits awkwardly alongside the absolute seriousness of what's at stake, which is enforced, of course, by the establishment of no joking zones at airports, where you can be prosecuted for even joking about bombing or terrorism. Here, though, the visual joke of the elephant on the train or the cartoonish reference to X-ray specs enact a whimsical form of conscription of everyday citizens into watchfulness on behalf of the state. Even the notoriously humorless TSA has gotten in on the act, most notably through its active maintenance of an Instagram feed. Now, some of the visual content here is rather dully bureaucratic or straightforwardly patriotic. And of course, the feed is crowded with images that justify the agency's existence, as in its photos of the large quantities of concealed weapons it intercepts every day. But alongside this predictable content are images designed to entertain. These include photos of their working dogs looking alert and friendly, interspersed with gratuitously cute images of traveling pets going through security, and amusing photos of the weird things people try to sneak onto planes. However, the unquestionable highlight of the feed is the content generated by its Ask TSA feature, whereby curious travelers can take a photo of a questionable item and get the official answer on whether it can be checked or carried on. Now, many of the queries seem designed to poke fun at the TSA, mock the arbitrariness and restrictiveness of its policies. But the TSA responds gamely, providing detailed instructions on how people can safely transport things like sticks of butter, cans of gefilte fish, gladiator helmets, headlights, taxidermied animals, mummified human remains, and whole pies. And it works. In 2015, Rolling Stone rated the TSA fourth out of the top 100 Instagram feeds behind Kim Kardashian, National Geographic, and Rihanna. It has nearly 500,000 followers. Of course, Ask TSA helps to normalize controversial security measures and diffuse public animosity toward the agency, of which there is quite a bit. But it also makes explicit the kind of citizen participation on which security increasingly depends. Thank you.